but I probably would.
It's
Okay,
just how
that's
you
it.
would react. Yeah.
That is the news, guys. Oh, it was 10 minutes right on the button, too. That's what we were hoping to do, too. So, our first story of the evening is Joe Rogan talking to this vaccine scientist.
Yes.
I've seen the clips. I think I actually watched the whole podcast because I do like watching Rogan. And they
Yeah,
had
that's
this
right. Yeah.
this climate scientist
Yeah.
on a show, and Joe kind of was going at him about, like, you know, if vaccines are necessary for people that are in peak condition, right? Like Joe Rogan, like fighters, all these fighters that didn't want the vaccine, are they healthy enough to withstand the consequences of the coronavirus without a vaccine?
Right.
I tend to think they are. I'm fat and got diabetes. I got the vaccination. Okay, but to each
Yeah.
their own, right? To each their own.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
And then this climate doctor is like an overweight kind of nerd, obviously, which I kind of feel bad for him because he probably isn't very good at defending himself if he's a nerd. It's probably happened to him his whole life, like alpha males picking on him his whole life. I guarantee it. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that he's in a very, very important position, and Joe Rogan called him out on Twitter. So I was going to read that article.
Okay.
Okay, so Joe Rogan and Elon Musk team up to pressure scientists into debating anti-vaxxer Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who I believe is JFK's nephew.
Oh.
Okay, so this is Joe Rogan on Twitter.
Yeah. Do you have an article there that we can see? Or
I have the actual Twitter thread
okay, gotcha.
that and all the celebrities that chimed in. I have the actual Twitter thread, so we'll go over that. But I figured I'd read a left-leaning article first, just because it's going to be all the conservatives speaking up on Joe Rogan's. It's going to be all the alpha males,
Right.
alpha cis, musclehead men that comment on that for the most part, which is fine. It's okay to be masculine.
Yes.
I'm masculine. There's nothing wrong with it. Just be careful. Be careful. So this is it. It sounds like the beginning of a bad joke, but a renowned medical expert, a comedian, a billionaire, and a Kennedy are all embroiled in a bizarre Twitter exchange about COVID vaccines stoked by the platform's owner himself, Elon Musk. I'll get it so you can see the article. The saga has focused on vaccine expert Dr. Peter Hotez, Dean of the National School of Tropical Medicine and Professor of Pediatrics, Molecular Virology, and Microbiology at Baylor College of Medicine, who authored the 2008. So this guy is like fucking... Sorry, I'm not supposed to swear. This guy is educated. Big time. Is that the first time I swear tonight?
Yes. I think so.
Now,
is the article supposed to be on the screen?
Yeah, is it not?
No, it's the
Oh, my bad.
The YouTube page.
No bad. I forgot to share the right screen.
That's okay. But yeah, no, you're doing good. You're doing good with the swear jar.
Yeah, the swear jar is working up pretty good, I think. Okay. Dr. Hotez on Saturday tweeted a link to a Vice article titled "Spotify has stopped even sort of trying to stem Joe Rogan's vaccine misinformation." And I don't know what's classified as misinformation anymore, but I watch Joe Rogan a lot, and if you can't go by like 10 seconds, you got to watch a couple hours.
Right.
Because even like if he says something stupid, he's a fucking drug doing alpha male. Like he says stupid shit sometimes, The testosterone gets in the way and you say something stupid. I get it.
Right.
But if he says something stupid, an hour later he'll think about it and be like, you know what? I said this earlier.
Yeah.
He does that all the time. This is long form content. It's not 10-minute videos, right? So
but
I don't know what misinformation.
he's open to changing his views.
I think so too. It's just that because he's like an alpha dude, he's intimidating. Like he's built like a brick S house.
Yes.
He's alpha. He's kind of like personality wise.
I don't want to say aggressive, but
well, aggressive, in a way, but not aggressive in a violent way.
Just really blunt and direct.
Yeah, blunt and direct
real.
and confident.
Yeah, confident. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this is it. I will get into the Twitter thread. I got that Twitter thread called up.
Okay.
Along with the tweeted article, Dr. Hotez wrote that from all the online attacks I'm receiving after this absurd podcast. Remember, this is like a nerd. We're from the 90s. This guy probably got made fun of his entire life, and now he's got the world's most famous alpha male picking on him.
But does he have facts?
No,
if he's a nerd.
That's the problem. He won't back up anything. This is the whole problem. Joe challenged him to debate JFK's nephew, RFK, about vaccines, about efficacy.
Okay.
Right, and this is all public.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Rogan, who spoke to Mr. Kennedy for 3 hours during his Thursday show. Actually, I missed a paragraph there. RFK Jr. has a long history of anti-vaccine advocacy, which became particularly prominent and outspoken during the pandemic.
Yeah.
The 69-year-old nephew of President John F. Kennedy and son of Robert F. Kennedy, both assassinated in the 1960s. And there's got to be other people that want RFK dead if his uncle and his dad got killed, has for more than 15 years come under fire from public health experts and even his own family for his controversial beliefs. He announced his candidacy for president. Oh, he's running for president. RFK is running for president. Another Kennedy in the White House. Can you imagine? Rogan, who spoke to Mr. Kennedy for 3 hours during this Thursday show, responded to Dr. Hotez with a challenge. So, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, we said that many times, but especially about Trump, he's running for president.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? And it was true.
And we're Canadian, right? This isn't what we get fed. We get fed Canadian news. I for the most part get fed Canadian. Well, I follow a whole bunch of stuff, but
yeah, well,
but I'm not as up to date on American politics as Americans. I hope I'm not as up to date as you guys are.
But I know a lot of people in Canada who follow American politics and news.
I follow it.
Just
I follow it all the time.
Messy.
Especially for the show. It's messy, but I don't know. I don't have the history.
Right.
I don't like I remember being a little kid and George Bush Sr. was president. That's all I knew. I knew that Pierre Trudeau or whatever his name was, or Jean Chrétien. Chrétien. That's like the first one that I really remember being like, I'm a kid. I'm like, oh yeah, Jean Chrétien is the prime minister. But now I'm now being a small business owner, I'm kind of forced to think about what the government's doing, right? Because it directly affects me.
Brian Mulroney, I met him.
Oh yeah, Brian Mulroney. I went for him as him for Halloween once. My mom got this wicked brown. I was so pissed. She wanted me to go as Brian Mulroney, so I didn't even know who he was. I was like 6. So here I am walking around as Brian Mulroney. All the kids don't even know who I am. Thank God. And all the adults are laughing at me. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Anyway, let's go on with this article.
Celebrity
Joe, you have my... Okay, so Peter, if you claim what RFK Jr... Okay, so RFK is an anti-vaxxer versus a vaccine scientist who wrote a book talking about vaccine misinformation.
Okay.
And this probably goes back to parents who believed... I actually worked for a parent that her son had profound autism. Yeah. Profound. And she swears it was from the vaccine.
Really?
They live down island, actually.
Did she get the vaccine when she was pregnant?
I haven't talked to her. No. He got it after he was born, like when he was 6 months or whatever. He got a bunch of vaccines. Yeah, but you get a bunch over the first 5 years.
Did they give children that vaccine at that age?
I guess whatever vaccine it was. I don't know what vaccine it was that she claims it was, but she swears that it was.
Okay,
it was one of the vaccines. She claims that it was one of the vaccines. Fuck, I'm trying to think of her name. I swore again. I'm trying to think of her name, but I can't remember her name. His name was Jesse. I remember that. I challenge you publicly. Okay, Joe. Okay, Peter, if you claim what... Okay, we just said that. Joe, you have my cell, my email. I'm always willing to speak to you, the vaccine expert who'd previously been interviewed by Mr. Rogan wrote back. A response deemed a non-answer by the host. I challenge you publicly because you publicly quote tweeted and agreed with that dog shit Vice article. Okay, Vice magazine... I got mad history with. That started in Montreal, eh?
Is it the same as the show?
Gavin McInnes. Vice News started as a magazine.
Yeah, okay.
And Gavin McInnes, he's been banned everywhere. Yeah. Used to come to the restaurant that I managed in Montreal where he was born and drop off the newspaper for people to read. To buy, I think it costs money. I forget if it was free or what. But I've met him. I didn't really know him, but he'd come in once a week and we'd shoot. I was the manager, so we'd kind of talk business for 5 minutes, and then he'd be on his way. He moves down to New York, starts Vice, and starts the TV network, and then they kicked him out, and then he started saying a whole bunch of really insensitive shit. He's like a fucking dirty old Scotsman, and he says things that he shouldn't. Yeah. So anyway, that's where he is now, banned, running his own network. I still watch him here and there, but he's super, super rude. Super rude. But funny as hell. I challenge you publicly because you quote cheated and agreed with that dog shit Vice article Rogan tweeted. If you're really serious about what you stand for, you now have a massive opportunity for a debate that will reach the largest audience a discussion like this has ever had. Yes. And if you think someone else is better qualified, suggest that person. Okay, that is very reasonable as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to have professionals debating this. Like a political professional, RFK, he's been in politics his whole life. He knows the political angle of this. And the scientist who works in vaccine, sure, he's biased, but they're both biased in different directions, both different directions.
Yeah.
Kind of like this show. Like, we have to listen to both of them. Why not do that publicly? Like, let's hear someone who's hardcore vaccines.
Right.
Go and explain themselves why the people who are anti-vaccine have some good points and bad points.
But I think it's important for either side to bring you facts.
I regret getting vaccinated, to be honest.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I wish I would have just stayed with one. You know, the second one made me so sick, but I'm glad I got it now that I'm getting older. But at the same time,
when did you stop?
I wish I would have got it now.
Don't you find the boosters got out of control? Like, I'd be talking to people, they'd be like, I'm on my fifth one. People would say,
I've had three.
I've only had the 2 vaccines, I think.
I should have stopped there. I don't know why I fucking got another one. For fuck's sakes, I didn't even have to. Anyway, let's keep on reading.
Okay.
Rogan also gleefully pointed out that he'd noticed another tweet the doctor had just written and deleted, which read, "Be serious, Joe. That's what you throw out for your hunting buddies on a weekend. A $50 million endowment, which you, Spotify RFK Jr. can easily afford. Not for me, but so we can continue making low-cost and patent-free vaccines for the world's poor." Preceded by RFK's Jr. And he's got a good point.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan's rich and famous, and Elon Musk is even more famous and more rich.
Yeah.
That prompted another apology of sorts from Dr. Hotez. This has got to be almost over soon. I'll just skip that whole part and go to the end. Here, I'll read this to the last page. Okay. Maybe Peter Hotez just hates charity. He tweeted, this goes on, we're going to get into this. Adding a tweet from the fire emojis 3 hours later. He's afraid of public debate. And, you know, my brother is and he doesn't talk to me anymore. He's super progressive and liberal, which is fine. You know, which is fine. I don't like to really categorize myself so frequently and so firmly in one direction. I don't really like that. But he does. And he doesn't like that I don't like the government.
Okay.
It seems. That's the only way I can really say
well,
it.
Okay.
But he will not see any other way, and I think a lot of really far left liberals are like that. They are just lost.
Either side is like that.
Exactly. The right's the exact same.
Yeah.
The vulgarity and purposefully offending
people. The
like,
left says that about the right.
Then they say it about each other.
But it's true. It's true for both. I think
it's totally true for both. Of course it is. You know,
it's funny. It's funny that this is the article that you picked because this afternoon, actually late this afternoon, I had a conversation with a friend, and she told me that she knows someone who passed away today, and they're suspecting that it's because of the vaccine.
Oh, the vaccine. You know, and there is COVID injuries. And
I think this is a young, healthy.
I think COVID injuries, now that we're through COVID, and we're all kind of immune to it now, we have to look into the people that were injured and because there were a lot of COVID injuries. 100%. There's no, you can't avoid that. None of them are 100%. You know, and there's always side effects, and people are always more susceptible and worse off in side effects than others. You know, so I mean, you can't really do.
But on the flip side, I also lost a close family member right before the vaccine came out.
Yeah. To COVID. And Emily, my wife's grandma, she got the vaccine. She was like 93, shouldn't have got it. And, you know, a few weeks after, her knees are crippled. She was fully able-bodied her whole life, took care of herself, lived by herself. And after the vaccine, her knees she's rigid and her muscles are all tight and she's sleeping and she's all like twisted and dying.
Yeah.
And but who knows if it's the vaccine? I'm not going to lean one way. I have no idea. That's why this debate should be had. Yeah. That's why I think that we got 2 professionals here. And they're both really biased in their own direction. That's a perfect debate. That's how you learn right there.
I think that, with the scientist, perhaps he's a little bit socially inept, and it's harder for him.
He's a nerd. And it's jock. It's the classic jock and nerd dichotomy.
So that's what they're saying, is that Joe Rogan is bullying him. Is that what they're saying?
Yes. Yeah. Just like a high school bully. But he's not really. He is, but it's not like.
But I wonder if they had this conversation off the air.
It's mature bullying.
If it would be different.
No, I don't think it would be. I think Joe Rogan's pretty much the exact same off air.
No, but I mean in terms of how confident or
they did. They have had this conversation. They had a 3-hour podcast, and Joe, like, he was talking about, what was good for COVID, for combating COVID, and Joe always brings up like health, cardio, vitamin D. He always brings that up, right? Like, vitality. That's what he always brings up. And this guy's out of shape, says that he likes junk food, says he has an addiction for junk food and doesn't eat as poorly and doesn't exercise. And Joe was kind of just like pointing out, like, don't you think that's bad for COVID? And it was, but of course he's right.
Yeah.
But it's a nerd. You can't be mean to nerds. You understand? They got to wait for them to say things in a way that they can really, really appreciate.
I think a lot of people, as soon as they feel attacked, they shut down.
And a lot of my friends,
it doesn't matter how intelligent you are.
No, some of my best friends are nerds, and they are, they get demolished. They get friggin' terrorized.
And that's what I was saying earlier about having the conversation off the air. Yes, they had a 3-hour podcast, but maybe it would be different because some people can't handle this type of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like on camera and stuff.
But it was
or just being recorded. Or
the only reason it was is because Hotez tweeted about the Vice article that was obviously... Vice has gone to hell. It's terrible. They were such a cool magazine, cutting edge back in the day. Okay, let's just finish this off.
Yeah.
Second, I think there's a tremendous promise in synthetic mRNA. It is like medicine going from analog to digital. That said, the world obviously went crazy with excess vaccination against COVID-19. Excess. Dr. Hotez tweeted that it was not easy to respond when those three gang up and tag team. Exactly. And empathetically, I can relate. I wish I could be more elegant and clever when the moment demands. But when the moment demands. That's a really honest statement right there. On Sunday morning, he offered a challenge of his own to the Twitter owner and Tesla founder. I would like to invite you to visit our laboratories in Texas Children's Hospital, meet our scientists, and learn more about our work. He tweeted, that's good. They should do that too. Dr. Hotez also tweeted that following the weekend's wild Twitter debate, I've been stalked in front of my home by a couple of anti-vaxxers taunting me to debate RFK Jr. I think he should do it. I think he should just do it. But the problem is, that's probably his worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Like showing up to that debate is probably what is darkest, deepest fear. Bullies.
And that's probably why he's saying come for the tour. Because they can see, you can see for yourself. It's different than verbally explaining something to someone,
Right.
Like.
But he still won't. He still won't back up what he says from Joe's opinion.
But I think it's because he knows that he's not going to change Joe's opinion.
He's not going to change his mind. There's no way Joe's going to. Yeah, Joe's set in his ways. But the thing is about Joe, is that he puts in the effort to learn.
Oh yeah.
He talks to more people about an array of different things all the time. 4 or 5 podcasts a week, whatever it is.
Yeah, I respect anyone who's passionate about anything. But if the facts are presented to you and you don't want to change your view just because you just don't change your view on anything, right? Then that's different. But I just think that that's what's lacking right now, and I think it becomes bullying in a way. Mm-hmm. When
but he did go on Joe Rogan, so he's obviously facing fears and doing things. Like he did go on it 3 hours with Joe Rogan. They talked.
Wow.
And a lot of it I'm sure was good. We should watch it. We should,
yeah. But
we should watch that.
But it's not easy for to prove a point to someone who is dead set against it. Yeah.
But at the same time, there is science backing up both of their opinions. They just have to realize that the science is different. Like, of course, health is going to impact your ability to recover from COVID. Of course.
One time I went to the doctor and he said, "I'm going to give you, shots or whatever." I can't remember what they were for, and he said, "I've added I think it was measles," and I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, because you can't find any documentation of having been vaccinated and
for measles."
But I'm like, but it doesn't mean I haven't been though. So am I?
Were they not vaccinating when we were kids?
Yeah, but they just gave us little cards. It would be filled out.
When did I get measles? When I was born, or
But see,
maybe?
what I did is I brought those to my doctor. Those little, yeah,
Okay.
you probably have cards that have
I'm
like,
sure my mom has them. Yeah.
but mine wasn't filled
Maybe
out
not
for
anymore.
measles on that particular card. But it doesn't mean I
Right.
didn't get vaccinated 6 months later, for example.
And that's the next thing to happen is that these are going to go. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Where is I going? Sorry, I looked at the time. I'm like 30 minutes. Maybe that's a good time to end that article.